You can ride out of our lot with any car, and we'll give you cash back.
At Metro Ford, we believe any car deal too good to be true usually is. Inspect our cars and make us an offer. Purchase this brand new 1986 Aerostar conversion van with V6 engine, Venetian blinds, custom two-tone paint with paint stripes, AM/FM stereo, TV, and much more for just $12,995.
Call for rates on conversion van and motorhome rentals.
Choosing the location of a new Highland store is serious business. It takes months of exhaustive research. Reams of demographic data have to be interpreted.
Here's a psychographic profile of the audio buying habits of young adults.
In selecting the site, our team of experts scans the globe for a site large enough to accommodate the vast selection Highland's famous for.
Microwave surf looks like a heavy demand in Sector 37.
And to celebrate the event, grand opening savings have to be planned for every Highland store. Like this 13-inch portable color TV with remote, just $147. And this countertop microwave oven with rotating turntable, just $88. Save $61. So where will the new Highland store be?
Your decision, sir?
It's all very impressive, but I don't understand any of this. Therefore,
Highland's new store is in Lansing, on Torrance, quarter-mile south of River Oaks Mall. Sale through Saturday.
Heard my offer? Water for guns.
Sahara, Thursday night at 11:30 on Channel 9.
This is the 9 o'clock news with Rick Rosenthal. At Harvey, Roger Treemstra and Bob Hillman. Chicago's very own 9 o'clock news team.
Well, you'd better get used to it. The hot, humid weather that we've had today is going to be with us for a while longer. In fact, we had our second straight day of 90-degree or above temperatures today, the beginning of our first prolonged heat wave of the summer. The official high temperature, 93 degrees today. Add in the high humidity, and it was very uncomfortable to be out of doors. Light clothing and shorts were the order of the day for the wardrobe today. Anyone with a suit coat was probably carrying it rather than wearing it. Eating ice cream was one good way to keep cool. Thousands of people flocked to the city's beaches to try to beat the heat. A dip into Lake Michigan was one favorite way of cooling off today. Some decided to take advantage of this sunny day to work on their tans. The heat wave is forcing Commonwealth Edison to pump out more power to keep air conditioners and fans running. In fact, ComEd set a new peak record for electricity usage today, breaking the old record we'd set back in August of 1984. Big question, how long is it going to ask? Let's go to Roger Treemstra and find out when this heat wave may end. Roger?
It's not going to end for a few days, Rick. It's going to be with us for some time. Looking at this map, you can see 90-degree temperatures all the way back to the Plain States. That means we'll see temperatures in the 90s right into the weekend with high humidities. We'll have a complete weather story later on in the news.
So we've got a few more days to share with the heat wave, I guess, Pat.
No joy. Well, thank you, Roger. A Morton Grove woman tonight is angry over the early prison release of a man convicted in the slaying of her daughter. Steve Sanders reports the convicted killer got his freedom this morning despite a petition drive to keep him behind bars.
Andrea Sachs was a 16-year-old Niles West High School student stabbed to death in November of 1977. Her body was found here in front of Madison School, a half a block away from the Skokie police station. A few days later, another 16-year-old, Randall Cramen, whom Andrea had planned to meet the night she was slain, was charged in the crime.
In 1979, Randall Cramen was convicted in connection with Andrea's death and received a sentence of between 14 and 20 years in prison.
Early today, after serving only 7.5 years of that prison term, Cramen was released from downstate Hillsborough Correctional Center.
As far as 7 years, I mean, my God, people who rob a bank could get more than that. An embezzler gets more than that.
Randall Cramen's release came despite the objections of Andrea's mother, who had mounted a letter-writing campaign to local newspapers and to the Illinois Prison Review Board.
I was hoping that maybe by getting the public aware and the legislature and the parole board and the Department of Corrections aware that we can't stand for this anymore. People can, every day you read in the paper, and what is it? Somebody has killed somebody. He's out on parole from doing something similar.
But Randall Cramen's defense attorney feels that the criminal justice system has worked in this case.
People get better. People rehabilitate themselves. People change. If the parole board didn't see the change in Randy Cramen, if Judge Fiala didn't see the potential for change, There would have been a greater sentence. There would have been a longer time in the penitentiary.
Shirley Sachs admits that while no prison term will bring her daughter back, she still feels that 7 years behind bars for the man convicted of killing her daughter is far too short. Steve Sanders, WGN News.
WGN News has learned a grand jury here in Cook County is investigating the business dealings of former Deputy Public Works Commissioner George Eng and Mecor Industries, a construction company owned by Eng and his family. We've learned subpoenas have been issued for at least 3 Mecor contracts on the O'Hare expansion project. And Edward Rohn, the city's top construction engineer at O'Hare, reportedly has been questioned about the contract awards. The grand jury investigation follows the joint WGN Better Government Association contract charades investigation, which has revealed 12 top city officials with similar family ties with contractors. Joel Wiseman has exclusive details now of the state's attorney's latest probe.
Eng now works as vice president of Mecor Industries, which is his own family's enterprise. Mecor registered as a minority firm, as a subcontractor or joint venture partner on more than $17 million worth of work on the massive $1.5 billion O'Hare Airport expansion project. The jobs range from a $16 million taxiway relocation job to cleanup work after construction to a cooling system for an interim facility at O'Hare. While Eng was a city official, his sons Jonathan and David worked for contractors doing business with the city. And Deputy Commissioner Eng approved this contract modification, which his son signed for the Passion Construction firm on the oft-delayed Columbus Drive Bridge. City documents also show that when Eng was Deputy Commissioner, he also was Vice President of Mecor Industries, a construction company owned by his wife and sons. Documents show when Eng was on the city payroll, Mecor bid on city contracts, including a $1 million joint venture contract for a boiler and refrigeration system at O'Hare Airport. Eng's name appeared on bid documents for that job, which Mecor won. City officials say the grand jury is looking into possible violations of the Corrupt Practices Act, which bans officials from having an interest in companies bidding on contracts that they have a role in. Eng says he and Mecor have done nothing wrong and has said that he was on sick leave from the city when the Mecor bid was made. We've been told, and Public Works Commissioner Paul Karras confirms, that state's attorneys investigators have grilled Ed Rowan, the city's chief engineer at O'Hare Airport, about his role in the Mecor contracts. Rowan reportedly is not yet a target of the grand jury investigation, and he declined to answer questions about it. As WGN revealed earlier, though, Rowan's wife works for Passion Construction, and his son was employed by O'Hare Associates, the consulting firm overseeing the O'Hare expansion project. Public Works Commissioner Karras says he does plan to meet with Rowan about the situation at the appropriate time. I'm Joel Wiseman.
Well, Joel, do you think the city's beginning this investigation will lead to others?
Well, it's the county, of course, that is beginning it, and what they are doing is starting to examine all of these family relationships where people on the city payroll either give contracts where their family members will get a benefit or the companies that their family members work for will get a benefit. In this case, George Eng was on sick leave. Being on sick leave, he was still getting a city paycheck. And while he got a city paycheck, his company got a contract. In fact, they got several contracts.
Do you believe Karras when he says that he's going to talk to Rowan, another one of the principals in this affair, at the appropriate time?
I believe that Karras would like to rid his department of those practices. However,
I think he'd really like it if you hadn't brought it up in the first place.
He claims that he has banned any contracts being given from any of his officials to members of their families or companies that employ their families. And as you know, Mayor Washington, in the wake of our investigation, did sign ethics legislation which prohibits the giving of such contracts.
Well, this could be the beginning of a trend then.
Well, we showed 12 different families, all of whom benefited from, had relatives benefit from their relatives at City Hall. And the state's attorney is beginning to look at them.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joel.
You're welcome.
Well, Mayor Washington says tonight the taxpayers have been footing the bill for what he calls a bloated patronage system at the Chicago Park District. The mayor's comments were in response to WGN's reporting last night that the Park District owes the city $37 million in overdue water bills. During an appearance today at the LaSalle Street Festival, the mayor told reporters that the city intends to collect.
$37 million they owe us.
How can the city recoup that?
Gee, we're gonna get our money. You know, that $37 million was used for what? Bloated personnel patronage, and you paid the bill. can you imagine what would happen to a poor old lady who didn't pay her water bill for 10 years or 10 months?
Well, Park Superintendent Ed Kelly has been unavailable to answer questions about that water bill. But Kelly is accusing the new man in power at the Park District, Jesse Madison, with breaking into his office. Park District President Walter Netsch calls Kelly's allegations, quote, stupid. Still to come tonight, salmonella bacteria is discovered in a Burger King hamburger in a southwest suburb.
And we'd like to have you meet a friend of ours, Megan, the talking dog.
Who? Mama? Mama? Okay.
Katharine Hepburn.
I never dreamed that any mere physical...
State health officials tonight confirmed that hamburger from a Burger King restaurant in suburban Burbank was indeed contaminated with salmonella. That's the first discovery of contaminated food since the salmonella outbreak there was reported on July the 8th. Earlier today, an employee of that restaurant at 87th and Cicero also tested positive as a salmonella carrier. In all, 28 people claimed illness after eating at the restaurant. 15, including the infected employee, have since been found to have confirmed cases.